YouTube. I'm back again with another repair video for my 2005 Chevrolet Impala SS. Today I'm going to be working on what's called the Resonator. The Resonator is a muffler type device that's used to eliminate certain frequencies and exhaust notes coming out of the exhaust system. This repair video should work for a variety of other GM vehicles, Buick, Pontiac, Cadillac, any GM vehicle, passenger vehicle that has a resonator. The resonator on my car developed a hole last summer, which caused it to have a kind of like a farting noise when driving. So today I've decided that I'm going to replace the resonator and do a slight modification as well. First off, I'd like to just show you a couple of items that I'll be using to perform this repair. We'll start off with the what's called a flange adapter, which is this piece here. This piece will basically connect to the catalytic converter, and the resonator, as you'll see when we go into the car, is one piece that has a flange that connects to the catalytic converter. But because I'm installing a aftermarket exhaust muffler, it doesn't come with that flange. So I had to purchase this. If you're purchasing a brand new catalytic converter, sorry, not catalytic converter, if you are purchasing a brand new resonator, it should have this piece already attached to it. So you don't have to worry about it. But I got this piece from Rock Auto. It's a website in the States. And I don't have the exact number. I kind of tore it off. I think it's 41806 something. Yeah, 41806 by the looks of it. This was the only, I mean, I could have gotten this through my local auto parts store, but they wanted way too much for it, and it was going to take way too long for them to get the piece. So I ordered this online. It cost me about 40 bucks. Shipped in 2 days, so great service from Rock Auto. I'll let you know though that if you are replacing your resonator as a whole unit, it'll probably cost you about, I've seen some prices on eBay for like 80 bucks, but I'm guessing, you know, it probably costs you anywhere between 80 and 100 and maybe 150 bucks at an auto parts store. So this is the first piece that I'm going to use. I'm going to use this to attach to my muffler, which I also purchased in the States. This is just a basic glass pack muffler. It's straight tube, thrush, 25-inch long, 2 1/4 inch diameter hole, because the whole exhaust system is 2 1/4 inch. So this is a 25-inch glass pack thrush muffler. This is a also 2 1/4 inch, so all the pieces that I'm using is 2 1/4 inch. This piece I got, this is just a straight piece of steel that I got, stainless steel that I got from my auto parts store. This probably cost me about 10 bucks, and it's about I don't know, probably about 20 inches long. I also got a new gasket. Because obviously when I take off the old resonator, the gasket there that goes between the resonator and the catalytic converter will probably be no good. So I made sure I went ahead and got one of these. I got this from my GM dealer. And the part number is 103-28740. So this cost me probably about 5 bucks. And I believe it's made out of like a lead material, but that's the gasket for that. I also picked up some hardware. I picked up 3 of these exhaust clamps. They're rated 2 1/4, and the nut size is 9/16. So that's what I'm using. I'm using 3 of these because I'm going to have to attach. I'm going to have to use one to attach my flange adapter to the muffler. I have to use another to attach the muffler to the pipe, and then the third is going to connect the pipe to the rest of the remaining part of the exhaust that I have. So I've got 3 of these. There's the other one. These were about $2-3 each. So you know, right there, this is probably about the the price of my brand new Resonator. But instead of putting a Resonator, I'm actually going to put a different type of muffler. I got some hardware here. These are 5/16 bolts. So yeah, they're 5/16, and I think the nut size is, yeah, they're 5/16. So I got a couple of those with some washers. I got a variety of sizes. I didn't know exactly what size I was going to need. These are stainless steel bolts. So I got 2 at 1.5 inches, and I got 2 at 2 inches just in case. I got a couple of washers and 4 nuts. So this is basically what I'm going to use to attach the flange adapter to the catalytic converter. And last but not least, I'm also using this RT, what is it called? Red High Temp gasket maker. It's basically like silicone, but it's high temp, and I'm just basically going to use this to seal off the joints between the parts, just in case the exhaust clamps don't create a tight seal. I'm just going to spread a little bit on those edges. So the first thing I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to measure out the overall length of my Resonator. My Resonator is actually much shorter than this combined, but I want to kind of start dry fitting things to make sure that I had the right length. And basically what I'll do is that final pipe I'll cut to size when I'm done. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting this stuff together. I also wanted to just basically make sure that I kind of put this in a certain order as well, with respect to the exhaust flow. So basically when the exhaust comes out of the catalytic converter, it's going to come first through this piece, and it's going to flow inward. It's going to flow inward through this piece and into the muffler. So I want this piece inside the muffler so that when it flows, it'll step down into the muffler and not step up into the muffler. The little step here. When I originally dry fitted this over at the other end, this piece will actually have to be a step up. I have no choice about that because you can see that according on this piece here, this side here is slightly tapered out, which matches the exact size of the end of my muffler. So unfortunately this will have to go on top of the muffler, creating a step up. I don't know if this will have any effect on the actual flow of the exhaust, if it'll hamper or damper it, whatever, but I thought maybe, just by theory, it would probably be best if all pieces were stepping down. So unfortunately that won't quite work out the way I want it, but we'll see what happens. As for this side, I don't know yet. Again, I'm going to have to cut it down to size once I get under there. I'd also like to point out that when I put these pieces together, I'm only putting enough material to cover the width of the clamp. So as you can see here, this is my clamp, and basically I just want to make sure that there's just enough material inside the muffler to cover the clamp. So I drew a line showing the width of the clamp and the width of material that I need to insert into the muffler. Same for this piece. I measure out the width of the clamp, and that's going to fit inside the muffler, so when it clamps down, it'll only clamp down on that material there. I might leave like a couple of millimeters over, but I mean, I'm not going to leave an excessive amount. I just basically want to make sure that I just get enough in there so that the muffler clamps down on the pieces. and that I'm not, wasting any material inside the muffler. So that's what these lines are for. These are the width. This is the width of the clamp, and so when I put it in, I'm just going to put it in that far. So I'm going to put this together, and then we'll go underneath the car. Before we go underneath the car, I just want to talk a bit about safety. I think that safety is an important issue for this kind of repair, especially since we're going to be going so far underneath the vehicle to get to the resonator. So I just wanted to show you or give you a little idea of what kind of a setup that I've got going on here. For the rear side, or if you are planning on using a combination of jack stands or ramps, I would highly suggest putting the ramps in the back. This is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and being in park with the ramps in the front, the transmission has a bit of a play in it, so the vehicle can move forward and back a little bit. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to use ramps, to use ramps on the back wheels. So I put my ramps in the back wheels, and I've also put the handbrake on so that the car doesn't roll front or back. And I'm using jack stands in the front. I also have my, I don't know if you can see, I also have my jack still in place under the front of the vehicle, just in case something happens with the jack stands. I think that this is probably one of the safest ways you can do it, because with the handbrake on, the car won't move back and forward. If you put the jack stands in the back and somebody leans forward or leans on the car or something, there's a possibility that the jacks could fall out from underneath the vehicle if you place them in the back, because like I said, there's that play in the transmission. So I'm putting my jack stands in the front, I got my ramps in the back, and I'm keeping my jack in place just in case something happens. At least it'll be able to take the load. Okay, so now we're underneath the vehicle, and because we're underneath the vehicle, I also want to mention, for safety, you want to be wearing goggles or some kind of protective eyewear. There's a lot of dirt and debris and rust and stuff under here, and as you're working, it's very easy for stuff to come loose and fall into your eyes. So you want to try and wear eye protective gear as best as possible to protect your eyes. It doesn't take much, a little piece of metal or a little piece of dirt in your eye can really make it for a bad day. What we're looking at right now is the catalytic converter. This piece basically goes up to the engine. That's the front of the vehicle, where the engine is. You can see the transmission pan there. And so this piece goes up to the exhaust manifold and one of the crossover pipes. Actually, it goes into a single pipe that splits off. Part goes into the one side of the exhaust manifold, and the other goes to the crossover pipe for the other exhaust manifold. So what we're doing here first, and so this is the resonator here. It's quite a long piece, as you can see, and it's all one piece. When they put this car together, they put it together as a one-piece configuration, straight through to the mufflers in the back. I don't know if you can see one right there. There's one muffler, and I got another muffler over there, and so they basically come back here to the resonator. And so this is my fix from about 6 months ago. I had a hole that developed on the top of the resonator, like I said, causing that farty noise. So I got a piece of aluminum and a couple of adjustable clamps, and basically just clamped on over the hole. But because since I live in an area where there's a lot of snow, I was backing up or driving forward or something, and I drove over a piece of snow, and it actually split the resonator in half. which I'll show you. I since last week put a new piece of aluminum over it to keep it together, just until I could get the remaining parts and do the full conversion. But this is the Resonator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to support the catalytic converter right about here, and I'm just going to use some bricks and stuff to support it, because eventually when I'm going to take off all this stuff, this is just going to be hanging here. And in the manuals it says that you don't want the catalytic converter to hang any more than 6 degrees, because there is a mesh connector pipe, I guess, up further, and you could damage that if the catalytic converter moves any more than 6 degrees in any direction. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to support this catalytic converter with some bricks in that, and then I'm going to loosen these O-rings. These are just the O-rings to hold it in place. There's a bracket that goes underneath here, so there's an O-ring there and an O-ring there. I'm going to remove those, and then get to work on trying to remove the flange from the catalytic converter. There's 2 bolts. I tried last week to try and remove those bolts, but they're so far rusted that they won't actually come off. So I'm gonna have to find a way to just cut them off. But first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna support that catalytic converter. Okay, so as you can see, I have the catalytic converter supported with some bricks and a stripping tool. There's the flange. As you can see right here, this is one of the bolts or nuts that holds the 2 pieces together. There's a gasket that goes in between, and there's another one just on the other side. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because of the shadow, but there is another one there up top right here. Can't really see it, but anyways, they're it's the same thing on both sides. And basically I tried to get some kind of a socket on here. It looked like a socket would fit, but it doesn't move or anything like that. So I'm just going to basically cut this whole piece off, cut these rivets off, and see if it'll come apart. It looks like it's almost like it's welded together or something. So and I'll have to probably drill a new hole through the flange of the catalytic converter to get my bolts in there. But before I get started on that, or actually, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna start with that first. Be careful of this wire here. This is the oxygen sensor. You want to make sure that's out of the way. You don't cut that, and you want to make sure everything is cold on this thing. The catalytic converter acts like an oven in order to burn away any molecules or gas molecules or unburnt exhaust or anything like that. So these pieces get very, very, very hot. So when you do this, make sure the car's been sitting for a while. I'm lucky it's winter time now, so here in the garage it's actually pretty cool, and things have cooled down quite nicely. So I'm just going to start with getting those bolts off and getting that piece disconnected, and then we'll look at taking it apart, taking those O-rings off and getting it off. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to try and remove these O-rings here. There's one on here on this side and another one on this side. There's a little bracket up here that you can just bend open. It's an open bracket, and I'm just going to bend this open to take this O-ring off so that I can have better access to these pins here, so that I can hacksaw these pins off. So I'm just going to take these O-rings off, and it's all still supported. You know, it's still stuck by the cat and the cat's supported, and the rest of the exhaust is supported further down the frame, so I should be okay with just taking these clips off. You don't want to bend them too much because they might be rusty and could break off very easily. So just open them up enough to get those rubber O-rings off. Okay, now that that's done, I'm just going to use my little hacksaw to cut through those bolts. Okay, so I finally got the one half of the resonator off. That's the catalytic converter there. I kind of cheated. I didn't use just the hacksaw like I planned because it probably would have taken way too long. So what I did is I used a what do you call it? A grinding tool. I used one of those guys with a grinding disc, a cutting disc. That's the big one. I had two sizes. I had a big one and a small one. And I basically used that to cut off the bolts that were there. I've already gone ahead and cleaned off the gasket that was there. So my next step, I guess, is to drill out these holes, or knock out these holes, and get those cleaned out. And then I'm going to test fit my gasket and my flange on there to make sure everything fits. So I'm going to start off by just drilling out these holes, making sure they're clean, and testing my bolts, and I'll come back from there. Okay, so it turns out I didn't have to drill out these holes. I just took a screwdriver and a hammer, and the remaining pieces just came right out. Like I said, this part's all clean here now. I removed the old gasket. This is the new gasket here, and it's made of the same material as the old one, because it's from GM. It's kind of like I don't know. At first I thought it was lead, but it's not lead. It's kind of like a fabric, or some kind of a fabric weave or something. But you'll see on one side it's indented or beveled. On the other side it sticks out, and that side is marked. There's a small marking here saying VR. I don't know if you can see that, but that's the side that sticks out. It's rounded out on this side and rounded in on this side. And after fitting it on the piece here, I do believe that the VR should be on the outside, on this side here, on this surface. The VR is sticking out, and the bevel, or not the bevel, but it sticks out on this side, so you can feel the bump here. So I do believe it goes like that. I am going to put a bit of that high temp gasket seal on the edge here. Then I'm going to put this guy on here, like so. And then I'm going to put my flange adapter. And everything seems to fit quite nicely like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so here we go with the seal stuff. Try and get it as close to the flange as possible. And the directions on here say to cover all the holes as well. So I'm gonna fill these holes in as well, or I'm gonna put some around them. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna put my gasket on. Like so. And I'll put a little bit on this. I'll put a little bit on this surface as well. So these are going on just finger tight for now. And then in an hour, according to the instructions, I can tighten them down. Now I gotta start working on the other side, which is gonna require me to, might be kind of bright. So now I gotta work on this side, which requires me to cut a section here off. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut the rest of this off, this piece here, right about here, and start measuring out what I need for the muffler. Okay, so it's been about an hour. I've gone ahead and I've tightened these up a little bit. Some of the gasket maker came out the side here, and I just wiped it around the flange. It says to just go about quarter turn, half turn after finger tight. I think I did probably maybe about 3/4 of a turn. That felt pretty snug. So that piece is on there pretty good. I've also gone ahead and cut off the rest of the resonator. I used my my cutting wheel and just cut right through it. Be very careful because the gas lines are right behind there, right on the other side. Just over here. That's the fuel filter. So if you are going to use a cutting tool, make sure you don't have any leaks or anything like that, because sparks could fly and you could start a fire there. So I'm just going to continue with the setup. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall my O-rings to get this nice and level and up where she needs to be. Okay, just hammer those closed so that they stay secure. Like I said, you want to be very careful when you're messing around with these clips. They could be pretty badly rusted. So be very careful you don't break them. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to smear on some of this RV gasket. I've already measured the width of my exhaust bracket, my clamp. So that's the line that I want to stop at. I'm just going to smear some of that RV stuff all over. Just as a precaution, you know. I should have probably made a bigger hole on it. Okay. Being pretty generous with it. Now, I'm going to put my muffler on. I'm just going to twist it. Until I get to where I want to be. It should be right about there. And my clamp. Now I'm making sure to put the bottom part facing down so that if this ever has to be serviced again, it won't be so hard to get to the nuts. like I said, I'm just going to put it right to the edge there, leaving maybe 3-4 millimeters. It's about finger tight right now. Like I said, these nuts are 9/16. What I'm going to do is I'm trying to tighten them evenly. You know, so if I do 1, 2, 3 turns on here, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 turns on the other side as well. And just basically try and go as evenly as possible and as tight as possible. Now some of that gasket maker has squeezed out a little bit here. That's okay, I'm going to leave that like that. Okay, now for the other side, I'm going to get my my piece here. And we already know that the beveled side doesn't fit on the muffler. It's going to have to go on the exhaust pipe side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the other end inside the muffler first and then slip it onto the exhaust. Now I've already had these on tightened with the clamps, so it's not going on so smoothly, but yours will probably go on a little smoother. Okay. Get my hammer here. Okay, that's good enough for me. I got about an inch of play. Like I said, mine went on kind of tight because I had already tightened down my clamps, assuming that I would be able to just put everything up, but then I realized I had to measure this piece and cut it. So by tightening down the clamps, it had already tightened down the muffler, so it was kind of tight going in. But if you do it piece by piece, install it piece by piece, and don't pre-assemble anything, it should go in a lot easier. Again, I'm going to put the bolts facing down. I'm going to leave a couple of millimeters, 3 or 4 millimeters. That's on pretty tight. Okay, one more and then we should be done. good. That's on good and tight there. Now I'm going to put a little more of that gasket maker just to seal up the edges here and here. And that concludes, I believe, our repair. I just have to let that sit for a little bit so that it cures, and I'm just gonna put my tools away and call it a day. So that's how I replaced my Resonator for my 2005 Chevy Impala. One quick note, I can kind of see where the failure in these things are after looking at it a little more. Basically, this thing is really just like the muffler that I put in. Looks to be like somewhat of a glass pack muffler, straight through design, perforated holes on the inside. But it seems like it's almost like it's two pieces. And where it broke was right in the middle where the space was, where there is none. See? So it's basically like this muffler with this insulation and the outer shell, and then the other half, it's the same thing. You have this inner tube, some kind of insulation, and the outer shell. And it seems like where these things fail all the time is right in the middle, where it's just this weak steel or weak aluminum, very pliable, you know. Seems that's where they tend to fail all the time. So go figure.